Yes, thank you very much. A few minutes, 9:15. So what I'm going to do, I'll ask for roll call. Ms. Yolanda?
Yes. Mayor Cantrell,
Present.
Councilmember King, Director Barnes,
Here.
Director Duplessis,
Present.
Director Kennedy,
Here.
Director Guzman,
Here.
Director Pacia,
Here.
Director Sloss,
Here.
Director Howard, Director Sholas,
Here.
Director Antra. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Okay, very good. Thank you all again. And I will ask for a motion to approve of the minutes from our last board meeting, May 22nd, 2024. It's been moved by Director Barnes, seconded by Director Pacho. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion to approve minutes have been officially adopted. And we'll move to committee reports at this time.
I think that's.
Now, we have, well, absolutely, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Finance Administration Committee met on the 12th of June at approximately 9:03 in this boardroom. Present with myself, Directors Pacio, Kennedy, Howard. Absent was Director Guzman. We had cash flow overview, the April 2024 water and sewer cash levels were 192 and 182 days on hand, which is well above minimum target thresholds. April collections were 21.3 million, May 23 million, which was above average. Total past due accounts have crept up that's over 60 days, up to 63.5 million, which is about a $6 million increase in the prior month. On the positive side, the consulting firm Protiviti, which we've talked about, is scheduled to start their discovery project. That's to figure out about the 25,000. If I'm getting into your report, Greg, excuse me, so I'll get back out of it. 25,000 accounts that are past due, and trying to figure out best way to deal with that. We've gotten about $3 million from the Promise Pay, and 9,000 customers in it, which represents about $21 million. Our April bill revenues were slightly below budget and trail year-to-date a bit. With a hotter summer, revenues are likely to increase. We had 2 action items, 2 contract change order ratifications, 2 contract amendments, 1 final acceptance. There was the usual information that we received was reviewed. There was no public comment. Being no further business, we ended a fairly short meeting at 9:35 a.m. That's our report, Madam Mayor.
Very good. And so we've heard the Finance and Administration's report, and I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Sholas, seconded by Director Pacho. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, so we've officially and fully adopted the Finance and Administration's Committee report. And we'll move to pension, and that's Director Pacho.
Thank you. The Pension Committee met on Wednesday, June 12th. In boardroom, the meeting convened at approximately 10:01 a.m. Present, Director Pacio, Kennedy, Anthrop, Mr. Magboul, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Shine, and Mr. Davis. Other board members present, Director Howard, we had 2 members absent. Presentation items, Mitchell Bilby of Rudden Wisdom provided an update on the employees' retirement system of the Surgeon Water Board, the actuarial evaluation report as of January 1, 2024. Mitchell and Benefits Manager Stephanie Chambers addressed the committee's questions about the optional drop program that is offered to employees in their retirement. We have 1 action item, Resolution R-110, 2024, to accept the 2024 contribution to the employees' retirement system of the Surgeon Water Board of New Orleans. It was moved and seconded, motion carried. The information items were received. We did not have any public comments, and therefore, with no further business to discuss, the Pension Committee adjourned at approximately 10:58 a.m. That's the report, ma'am.
Thank you so much. No, thank you, Director Pacho, and for your leadership there. We need a motion to approve the Pension Committee report as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Sloss. We need a second. Seconded by Director Barnes. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we've officially adopted our pension committee report. We do have a presentation at this time, and we have Ms. Renee Laparulari. Is that who's going to present?
It's going to be Mary Arsenault, Mary
Oh,
Beth
very good.
Arsenault on behalf of Renee this morning.
Very good. Good morning.
Morning, Madam Mayor, members of the board. My name's Mary Beth Arsenault. I'm an Assistant Special Counsel in the Office of Special Counsel, and I have worked with Board Relations and Renee Rapaloli, the Chief of Staff, to develop this resolution and then the proposed rules and form that would go with it. In 2023, the Louisiana Legislature adopted Act 393, which mandates that local bodies, including us, we're a governing authority of the state of Louisiana, political subdivision, adopt rules and regulations to accommodate persons with Americans with the Disabilities Act disabilities for purposes of open meetings. It's an exception to the open meetings law, which otherwise requires in-person participation by everyone, participants and members of the public body. So over the course of the last several months, meetings were held with Board Relations and our IT department to comply with these provisions of the law that require us to take some sort of action to comply with the ADA and then authorize certain rules and regulations, because we're mandated to adopt rules and regulations to accommodate ADA requests. There are two different aspects to this, and they're laid out in the exhibit as the rules. One is with respect to members of the public. One is with respect to members of the board, because there are different elements for each of those. Members of the board, of course, would have to be allowed to participate and vote remotely. That's provided for in these rules, and it would be the same mechanism that was followed during the pandemic, which those of you who were on the board at that time will remember. IT will send your Board Relations, will send you a link to click on, and you can participate remotely. The method to make the request for that and to qualify for ADA disability accommodation is a simple affidavit, which is attached to this Exhibit A, or should be in the packet. And if it's not, it's a simple form. It does not require disclosure of what the particular disability might be. Does not require verification on the part of the board staff. It's basically the honor system. So if someone has a disability that would require accommodation, fill out the affidavit, say how long your accommodation is requested to be, send it in within 24 hours of the meeting, and that's it. Staff will track it from there. Members of the public need only click on the link that we provided in the board agenda. We're not asking anyone in the public to indicate what their disability is or if they are disabled at all. We're making it open for any member of the public to observe the meetings online and to submit comments up to 2 hours before.
Is that a permanent disability or a temporary disability?
Doesn't distinguish. So if it would be permanent, then I would think you would indicate that on your affidavit that says permanent disability requiring accommodation.
Is there,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Go.
this is maybe a crazy question. Is there a list of what qualifies as a disability?
There is, and it's an illustrative list, and it comes out of the federal regulations under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Okay.
It's illustrative because that may change over time, and just because something's not on the list might not mean that it's not of a magnitude that would qualify as a disability requiring accommodation. So again, it's kind of the honor system. It's intended to comply with this mandate of the law and still comply with the open meetings law while respecting
Right. Thank you.
privacy.
I just want to clarify,
Mm-hmm.
this would include us, not
Yes.
just
Yeah.
members of the public that. Okay.
First part.
So from a recruitment aspect, this is interesting because it opens up then abilities for people with disability to be board members. Is that correct?
It's already open for them to be board members.
Okay.
There's no provision
But we
against
can't- but
someone.
We can't accommodate them remotely currently, right?
Well,
As
we
board
could,
members?
well, we would have to, if they're a board member, by law, we have to make the accommodation.
Okay,
From
got
where
it.
from my perspective.
Okay, got it.
And my dealings with it is, yes, make the accommodation.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah,
You should, absolutely.
okay.
I remember I hired one of my principals of our charter school was legally blind, and we had to do everything, and no question, get it done, you know? And that's how we want to be, forward-thinking and doers of the people who serve.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, making accommodations. So does that complete your presentation?
That completes my presentation. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
And no further questions from the board? Okay, thank you so very much, Ms.
Thank you.
Mary Beth.
All right.
Thanks.
Question, I do have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
With this, there's a new form online. I encourage board members to look at that form, just so that you understand what that form looks like when you go to submit public comments. Because a lot of care and concern went into making sure that that form was legible and visible and does all the things we need to do to be as transparent as possible. So, just that comment.
If you like, Dr. Plessis, we can have Tanyelle actually send that form to all of the board members.
I think let's make that a request, and thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Yolanda?
Yes, now we'll have the action item, Resolution 041-2024, authorizing the rules, regulations, and procedures for compliance with Act 393 of the Louisiana Legislature for Americans with Disabilities Act. And we'll call for the vote now.
Okay.
Motion, ma'am.
So we need a motion to approve Resolution R041-2024 as read by Ms. Yolanda.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Duplessis. Was that you?
We said at the same time, so.
Okay, so moved by Director Duplessis, seconded by Director Pacho. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? All right, so we have adopted that resolution. Ms. Yolanda?
And now we have 7 corresponding resolutions that we may take in global approval. That's Resolution R11-2024, Resolution 112-2024, Resolution 095-2024, Resolution 96-2024, Resolution 94-2024, Resolution 98-2024, and Resolution 99-2024.
Okay, so they've been read into the record by Ms. Yolanda. We do need a motion to approve in globo.
So moved.
Moved by Director Scholas, seconded by Director Sloss. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, the motion has been carried and adopted in globalization. Ms. Yolanda?
And now we're ready for executive session.
Okay, one other question that I have prior to that. I think it would be good to just give a brief update, Steve, if you will, just in terms of pump power. I know that Ghassan could not make it today, but for the sake of public, where we are, give us a update, the board.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Thank you. We have 90 of 99 major drainage pumps available. The one issue with iPump at DPS 6, we have isolated. I don't have a final timeline on that, but Xylem is the contractor working on it. They should be on site this week to look through that. The focus for us are on pumps in New Orleans East, and pumps 3 and 4 at Pump Station 14 are a key focus for us, and making good progress with those. Turbine 4 is the big news. We currently have 49 megawatts available. We, of course, need 44. The 5th EMD will be we're testing that tomorrow and or Friday, so that will bring on another 2.5 megs. And then turbine 4, we should be putting load on that tomorrow or Friday. So Lord willing, that will bring on another 18 megawatts of power, which will bring us just over 70. So that's a really good place to be from a power standpoint going into heavy season.
And 70% is some of the largest that have seen since since I've been mayor 6 years now. So we're making steady progress, but at the end of the day, that power complex is our top priority in getting there. Any other updates that you need to give the board at this time relative just to our existing conditions?
Not at this time. We continue to have productive discussions around consolidation, around additional funding for the power complex. We appreciate our federal, state, and local sponsors in moving those efforts forward.
It's a draft. Thank you.
Can we do it after executive session?
Since it's not teed up, we can do it after executive session, but I did want the board to see it in draft form.
Okay.
So this is a video that we're producing that will be utilized at our upcoming State of the Utility. It is in draft form. I did want the board to see it. I want it to be in public setting what are we afraid of? Nothing, because it's the truth. But it just gives where we've been as a utility when at one point, of course, 100 years ago, but at one point when we did even deal with drainage before it went over to the city and now coming back, where we are with our complex, the need for it, the need for all the things that we're doing, smart metering, lead line replacement and the like. I wanted to show it today to the board because, again, I need feedback, and I wanted to get it in this setting. And so with that, I've asked the staff to tee it up. It's not ready at this time, but it should be after the executive session, so we do not waste time.
Correct.
Okay, so with that, we will make a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Been mo-
Second.
Moved and seconded, executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the ayes have it. We will go into executive session.
make sure that one's open.
Good, so we need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Director Sloss, seconded by Director Pacho. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, we are out of executive session. Ms. Yolanda.
And now we'll need a motion to approve special counsel's recommendation regarding workers' comp matters, Edward Geddes and Orion Duplessis.
Thank you very much. We need a motion to approve the recommendations of special counsel.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Kennedy, seconded by Director Sloss. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, we have officially adopted the recommendations of special counsel relative to our workmen's comps matters.
Okay, any public comment? No public comment, and now, Mayor, we're waiting for the TIA.
Okay, no public comment. Thank you very much. And as I mentioned, I wanted to provide the board with an overview of a draft of a video relative to what we're putting together that will be the start of our State of the Utility. Wanting to give a visual, wanting it to kind of set the tone for, again, engaging but educating the public in terms of where we are, where we've been, and where we need to go, regardless of who the mayor is, regardless of who the council is or the governor. These are the existing conditions, and leaders here have been dealing with them and moving this utility forward. I also, and why it's teeing up, want to give a thank you to Director Howard. She had an letter to the editor today that was placed timely. And just, it speaks to our responsibility, and we are very much focused on doing that to continue to deliver for the residents and our customers. Part of our work, as we know, has been the power complex, where we've gotten it thus far, and not just in word, but in real action. And as we planned, and moving with the capital outlay to complete that component, we did not get there in this previous legislative session. However, what we did get was a commitment from Governor Landry to ensure that the power complex move forward. There's a real understanding about the urgency and how this utility has done what it said that it will do, meaning we're ready. We're ready for the next phase, and therefore the money is needed. If we are not successful in getting the resources, then again, we will not be ready for hurricane season next year, as we've said, for the power complex to come online, but most importantly, for the infrastructure improvements with this utility will come to a halt. And we don't want that, but it will, again, not go away regardless of who's in elected offices and or leadership roles. And so we are prepared in every way to move things forward, but in the spirit of partnership. So with that, are we ready for this video? Okay, so she's getting the video. And also, while we're waiting on it, I'll just kind of reiterate in any form that you can to encourage our youth in the city to apply for the Youth Climate Action Initiative that we've been funded by Bloomberg. I would say please do so on all your platforms, whatever you can do. The application deadline will be the end of this month, but it is again an opportunity for our young people to create initiatives, to educate and inform the public about how climate has already changed and how we have to adapt to it. So it's in line with what we're doing as a utility, but also looking at alternative ways to engage, educate, and also create some action items for us to deal with climate change.
What's the age range for that?
The age range is 14, I believe, to 24. And the city of New Orleans was chosen or selected to join 99 other cities around the world for this initiative. So it grew out of our participation in COP28, and Bloomberg made good on that, and we have an opportunity to get additional resources for our youth. I'm not sure what the problem is.
It's not coming up. I apologize, Mayor.
Is it YouTube.de?
There's a dot in there.
address for the video, yes. Yeah, it's what you use. Let me see if I can get it.
YouTube.com/.
Is there a dot between the U and the B there, or is my eyesight?
There we go.
That's the same address. It's HTTPS.
We can't hear it.
Water has brought prosperity to some
Start
and
from the
troubling.
beginning. Thank you.
As New Orleanians, we have a complicated relationship with water. For over 300 years, water has brought prosperity to some and troubling dramatic flooding to others. Nearness to the sea is why the city was founded, but water is also the biggest threat to our future. By reshaping our relationship with water, we can make a safer, healthier, and more prosperous future. The city was founded in 1718 because the area was at sea level and near the mouth of the Mississippi River. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the easy access for ships made our city a main port of entry for goods as well as the slave trade. Port development fast-tracked the economy, yet even then, the city faced repeated floods and devastating yellow fever outbreaks due to the early open drainage systems and the swamps, which occupied over half of present-day New Orleans. The Louisiana legislature created the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans in 1899. Under this agency, the city managed water, sewage, and drainage. Later that year, a millage tax passed that funded the new public office. In 1915, then state-of-the-art pumps were installed. Despite their 50-year lifespan, those same pumps are still in use today, 109 years later. While the pumps that drain the swamps open new land for housing development, they also caused the city to begin sinking. The marshland that once surrounded the city ended at Gentilly Ridge, which is why pumping stations were built on Broad Street. The land between the ridge and the lake was dried out to expand the city into what is now Gentilly, New Orleans East, and Lakeview. These are the lowest elevations in the city. Like a sponge, as the land dried, it shrank and then sank into our present-day bowl. Our city is still sinking, but now at a rate of about 2 inches a year. Despite extraordinary flooding events in the early 80s, the 50-year renewal of the drainage millage failed in 1991. Without enough funding, system maintenance was put off, eventually leading to the responsibility for small underground pipes and catch basins to be moved from Sewage and Water Board to the Department of Public Works. As part of the Hurricane Katrina recovery, many improvements in the levee system, canals, and large underground pipes have taken place. But we remain a city that can only pump 1 inch in the first hour and half an inch every hour after that. Looking to the future after Katrina, engineers, architects, and elected officials developed a plan for how we can live with water. With some elements of the Urban Water Plan being implemented, we asked David Wagoner, the architect who led the effort, to discuss what embracing water could mean.
It's not like you can say you're going to be flood proof. That's not real. Not in New Orleans. Not with the rainfall levels we have. You know, when it rains very heavily, it comes up, right? It's a vertical rise. But where can you store that water? And is there a way to get that water out of that pipe into some landscape that can hold the water? And then when it's time, it can go back and drain out. Water management is time management. You know, what you're trying to do is take the peak off. Water is the source of life. It can be said that water is the blood of the land. It is inherent to our health and welfare. We're living in a delta. We want to desiccate a delta. That won't work. I mean, tell the trees that, right? Tell the trees that they don't do anything for you. When we started doing this work, the first big shift was in changing the paradigm from paving and piping and pumping to managing water by storing it, using it, slowing it down, and pumping it as necessary. Instead of pumping being primary, it was actually secondary or tertiary. It was necessary, but it wasn't the first thing you did. What you want to do is have enough when you need enough. Have intelligent use of your landscape. But it's a fact of the matter that we are a water city. We just don't want to be. The lines that are there that the water board controls are the fundamentals of that. They're the main veins in the system, right? The canals, the pumps. We have the fundamentals there. We need to adapt them. So we just haven't really understood the importance of surface water levels. Other cities are struggling very hard to get a perimeter protection. Other cities don't have pumps at all. They don't have any agency to manage the pumping. They don't have any of the systems we have as legacy here. But we're squandering our lead. If we can get back in balance, I believe we'll create new industry. I believe we create the population we need, help create the population we need, and it'll be cooler and healthier. The question is, do we trust ourselves? Do we believe in each other? And if we can go back and reestablish our belief in one another and start to see some progress in that, then I think we get some stuff done.
The Sewage and Water Board has made strategic investments to address the most critical issues. In 2019, a fair share agreement was reached with the state, meaning that a portion of what the city contributes to the state in tax revenue comes back to the city as a subsidy. That funding has kickstarted efforts to make major improvements. Smart meters are being installed citywide to rebuild trust in billing. The Sewage and Water Board is working with city, state, and federal partners to secure funds to complete the power complex, which will provide more reliable power for the pumps. And the legislature has returned catch basin maintenance to Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans. However, sustained funding of the catch basins and small pipes is a work in progress. We must establish a dedicated revenue stream to maintain and improve our drainage system. Currently, 40% of Sewage and Water Board customers pay nothing for drainage. We must have a more equitable way of securing our future, and our future is green. Living with water and embracing its advantages will ensure a brighter future. Dewatering our city, which has been the strategy since 1895, helped our city grow, but we now know we can't pump every drop out of this bowl we've created. We need a new approach for today. Understanding this, One Area School has made living with water and understanding its importance central to their mission.
Every time we have a storm, erosion speeds up even more. And it's like, if we constantly keep having these storms, eventually the city not gonna even be here.
What we do here is try to restore the wetlands that we're losing. And we really want to get the community active.
We can bring a national spotlight to the work that needs to happen here on the coast and involving students in it and young people in it. If we're gonna start a revolution, we have to start young.
As sea level rises and seasonal storms get stronger, it's clearer than ever that the future is now. It's up to us to embrace water and create new infrastructure that will strengthen our city and leave a new legacy for the next generation.
So, thank you all for indulging me on this, because it's just that important, you know, in terms of how we educate the public based on a utility that has been weaponized by the media in so many forms and fashions, although we consistently do the work and we're doing it for the future of this city. There has to be a reset and a pause to take in where we are, what we're doing and where we're going. And if we don't, these things will continue to be. And I am adamant about it, meaning being very clear, because again, it's not a matter of if, it's when, in terms of things shifting and changing in terms of leadership. But we have to make sure that people have a real understanding of where we are, because we're going to need them to continue to invest. And this speaks to the teeing up, what's been talked about, a stormwater fee, drainage fee, whatever you call it, but there's a need for that. There's a need to shift, again, the burden off of the 60% of the customers to a full throttle in terms of 100%. And how we do that, we have to figure that out. I know that there's been a lot of focus on it, so we're not starting from scratch, but we have to begin to talk about it. Then the other piece is that in 2027, the millage will roll off that we have now. So time is of the essence. We don't have any more, we don't have a can to kick, we're not. But the time for the discussions publicly and the education, it's necessary, because there are key decisions that not only have to be made, but when they're not made, they have real impacts. So just like the 29 million that we were depending on and standing up for several years now, while we're doing the work, and here we've done the work and now we're ready for it. With that not being moved forward when the time was there, again, it has an impact. Now, we built cushion in, meaning October, like, because it takes time to go through the paperwork to actually get the resources. But if you come and we move past October with no funding mechanism, then that will trigger a delay in the deliverable of the power complex being completed to provide redundancy come hurricane season 2025. So it all is relevant right now, and I just want to make sure that we're having the conversations and teeing them up right now, because time will go, and people will again use the political football if they choose to, which the only people suffer are the people that we're serving every day. And so I'm not wanting that to happen on my watch, on our watch, because we've been honest, we've done the work, we've stood tall in the midst of, and we are continuing on that journey. But we know we can't do it alone. And so all those who have a role to play and a responsibility need to also own it too. Because time is moving, time is not on our side, but these are the existing conditions that we have to deal with. And they're real. And just as the roll forward didn't happen for the utility that the city council said no to, well, that had an immediate impact that was money that we didn't have for drainage, leaving us with 3 million when our obligation to the Corps for the next 30 years is $10 million a year. So these, again, are real issues that will not go away. They have to be addressed. So I wanted to show you that because it's been hard for time with getting other leaders in front of it. And I'm like, hey, I got to get this in front of my board. And so for you all to not only see what we're trying to do, but also chime in. Now, it was my hope that we would have the best quality ever in terms of the visual and the video. I've pitched it in terms of getting support from the business community to make it as best as it could be, but also that we could pull out or streamline it depending on the audiences, because the goal is for it to live and for us to continue to move and educate all around the city, but tell the story in a way that's not political. It's just the facts. And that's why we were focusing on the state of the utility, focusing on the facts, and engaging you all in telling the story and the facts. So that's my little goal here. And I know that they didn't want me to show it initially on the public record and it's in draft. We have nothing to hide, and the work really speaks for itself. But we have everything, the focus in terms of educating this public. Any comments, feedback?
I have a few.
Yes.
So having had the opportunity to go over to the Netherlands twice, to look at specifically the history of water management, one, to plan a tour for students, and two, to accompany those students on a tour. That mind shift that is outlaid at the beginning with living with water is what the Dutch has adopted, but it's allowed that mantra to penetrate through everything that country does, and it sets the basis for funding in education and what they export to the world in terms of how that happened. I did appreciate that. I also appreciated a couple of points that I just jotted down. One, the acknowledgement of the city and its past, both the slave trade and the role that the pumps played in dewatering the state in such a way that the city was able to expand.
Yes, ma'am.
That part was clear. I've never seen it presented that way, so I did appreciate that. Not only I was born and raised in Gentilly, and now I live in New Orleans East, understanding these same pumps that drain the water each and every day when it rains was responsible for that. So that acknowledgement was there as well. I think it brings the reckoning forward that our future state is going to have to grapple with, whether we're in these seats or not. That is acknowledged and that is clear in that case. I do have one comment. The very end image where it presents our present state with all of the issues, it pans way too quick, because that is the message that we're trying to drive home where we are today. And I know you talked about how you want to maybe break it up and just export it for audiences and purposes. That image is powerful. I would have liked to see us take just a little bit more time there and let that sit for a minute. But overall, I thought it was well done. I did feel that it was depoliticized, and as an educator, the key facts of where we are, where we want to be, and what has happened came through.
I love the feedback. Let's keep it going.
Sure, thank you. And to sort of lean on my colleagues in earlier conversations, people-centered language matters. We could talk about this in the terms of technology. We can talk about this in terms of sort of environmentalism, but I like that when we talk about this, we talk about how it touches everything. The children are what really resonated with me. The children being an active participant in learning and growing, that supports our educational system and at a grade school, high school level. It supports our colleges and universities because that expertise comes in, and it supports us drawing in talent to the city to solve problems that ultimately be exported to other places. So this is an industry driver that diversifies our stream. So this isn't just something we do to make ourselves safer and better. It's also something we do to highlight the talent of the people in the city. And I think that empowering people to be a part of their own solution is important, and talking to people in neighborhoods as partners and not as pawns or recipients in a way that's infantilizing, it's super important. So I just, as we talk about this with whoever audience, I think we should be very mindful of the tone we take and lead with partnership and lead with how this touches industries outside of just safety.
Yes.
That's just my initial thoughts.
That's good, that's good. Any other thoughts, comments, things you want to see, you didn't see? And this is all draft, right?
Can we look at it, can we get the address and look at it?
Mhm.
We have board relations. Senate
Again, I'd like to see
Absolutely,
it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
So one thing that was missing was something that we talked about at the last strategy committee meeting, which is that we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of investments in green infrastructure made by the Sewage and Water Board, which are very neighborhood-based. And I just wonder if there are visuals, if there's a story, something that kind of, I mean, they're in the scheme of things relatively small investments, but they demonstrate neighborhood approaches.
So that is from absolutely. So we have several layers of green infrastructure that go beyond 10 years. I mean, and we show
yeah,
them.
yeah.
But from the board's investment, absolutely, because it demonstrates the multiple layers and it also speaks to that neighborhood investment, but also buy-in, because we just didn't go into the neighborhood, meaning the neighborhood had a partnership, to your point, to making or creating these adaptive
And several
uses.
of those, have neighborhood youth, implementing the projects and things that I think, that's just messaging that I think is really important because we want to have more funding, where there is no more funding for that type of investment. And that's kind of a community focus, so.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to see it again to just kind of continue to digest. One thing that I've seen to be very successful is to wrap it all up at the end with an action, call to action. It happened, but it could be tightening up, saying, all right, if you want to really support your city, this is what you can do. You can support the millage for, blah, blah, blah. You can
Stormwater fee.
Yeah, two, you can support green infrastructure. Three, four, and then in addition to that, take them to an additional site and say, visit so you can take a look at more information. That way you wrap it up and you make a call to action, say, you can do it, this is your responsibility, this is your city. And even as a board, when I'm hearing you speak, it's like, it's not only the people we serve, we're serving ourselves. This is where we live. So kind of like switch it up and saying, okay, this is you who live here, and you could take responsibility for your future. And then take it there.
No, that's perfect.
I thought it was great. I loved it. I realized I probably would want 2 hours of that content. I enjoyed it. But I do want to also kind of look back at it again. I thought it was really key, something that, happened in '91 where we turned our backs on, and I think being able to see what the result of that vote was. And then we also got some glimpses of possible futures through the architect. I think kind of tying that to the equity piece, saying, yeah, this is how you get there. I think that messaging, I think it came through, but that really excited me to see, yeah, this is what happens when we didn't pay for what we use. And I just overall love the idea of, living with water. We don't have to be afraid of it.
Well, I appreciate, the feedback and how it is aligned with other thought partners in terms of this needing to be comprehensive, and how do we end with that whole tying it all together, and the leave behinds, the next steps that have to be driven by and accepted by community. Like everyone owns this. That was the goal, or that is the goal, if you will. So it's still a work in progress, but to the point where your input will have a direct impact on the finished product. Now, I also love the fact, because they were saying, oh, it can't be longer. I said, we have to tell the story. Like, we can't be too rushed. And you on the front end, we have to take advantage and create the moment. And then you can break it up, to your audiences. But on the front end, let's tell the story. Now, it was the goal, too, that when we have the state of the utility, that it will start with the film to bring people in, get you ready. Give you a little take you on that little journey to where you are ready to receive and the information that will come through us and other partners in the community. The children, our youth, will have a role to play as well. So it's not just in the film, but as we're engaging. They will have a role. Hopefully they'll be able to talk about their projects that they are putting forth through the Bloomberg piece. So we're looking at this again, being holistic, but the start of our plan to educate, bring folks in to be a part of the solution, because it will not happen without them. And if anyone's seeking any office, great, because this is what you're gonna need to deal with too. You know, and we love it, you know.
I just wanted to mention, so like in higher ed and as we are designing programs and projects and content, one of the things we always grapple with was attention span.
Yes,
Like
I
making
know.
short and quick because people's attention span has been shortened tremendously, whatever. I will tell you, it grabbed my attention and I did not stray away. I didn't pick up my phone, so it was captivating enough to
think
hold
so.
attention. So let me say that. But the other aspect is purpose.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of us at Higher, we do a lot of work in understanding how things make us feel in the moment and acknowledging that in time and space. And I will tell you, watching that video made me understand or realize my purpose and my mission here as a board member. So in terms of like impact, making sure that we deliver these messages in a way that's meaningful and be very strategic how we use it, because it does have that effect.
But you're staying here for another 10 years.
I didn't say that. I didn't.
I have another
say
role for her.
You're not really allowed.
I'm good,
Okay, well, thank you all. Patient, did I miss you?
Just a question. Is there a need to add any additional narrative to the fact that the city is sinking 2 inches every year and what that means in terms of impact and why these projects and funding is so necessary?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Because the goal too, yes, sir, we will add more of that. Because what I wanted to get out of it as well, again, for folks in leadership roles that have a responsibility to understand when you don't act, this is what you're saying no to, and it's the future of this city. Get the politics out, because that's exactly why we're here, meaning why the 29 million wasn't approved. But later for that, we're here for a purpose. So yes, sir, we want to drive that home and hopefully encourage people to have the courage to just make the decisions to do the right thing. Because that's why we're here. All right. So without further ado, there was no public comment. Forgive me for keeping you longer, but it was necessary purpose, and we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.
And we have Board of Trustees,
Oh,
10
yeah.
minutes.